Eddie, hello. Are you with us?
Hi, Joanna. How are you?
Hi, thank you very much. It's absolutely fantastic day because we are going to talk about the newest technologies in cars, really. Are we going to talk about the future of technologies in cars also?
Well, we can talk about the future, but the reality is that this technology is here now.
Yeah.
What I'll share with you today is how the car parks in Europe have already started to change, and how this is having an impact on insurers, leasing companies, and importantly, how it's having an impact on us as Belron and Autoglass Poland. And hopefully by the end of today, we'll show you guys how we are prepared to deal with this technology and how advanced we are uh, in comparison to other vehicle glass repair and replacement companies to make sure if the insurers or leasing companies send us a customer, we can offer the full end-to-end replacement and recalibration solution.
Okay, so we will talk a lot of calibration, about a lot of taking care of really of the system. Someone has to take care of these systems that we have in cars. And are you ready to start the presentation?
I'm ready, yeah. It's slightly different to
Okay.
normal presentations.
Okay, so let's start it and let's have this look at the technologies and what's going on. Okay, Eddie,
Thank you.
let's start.
So, again, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to present to the Polish audience. And really, just to follow on from what Joanna and Yannick mentioned, if we look back at our industry, vehicle glass repair and replacement, in the past, we've just been seen as a company who offers just a piece of glass. But now that technology has came along, we've really had to adapt our business, our process, and our training and equipment to deal with this technology. So what I want to cover today is the increasing technology trends, and Jarek mentioned it, ADAS systems that are in the cars. And the purpose of the session today will be to create an understanding of the technological trends related to, in particular, vehicle glass repair and replacement. I'll explain to you the trend impact on quality and safety issues and our capabilities to deliver these recalibrations, and to demonstrate to you how Autoglass are prepared to mitigate you from any risks associated with these recalibrations. Play video 1. So there you see, we have the testing ground for Bosch in the new Mercedes S-Class at Stuttgart Airport. And this is what the future looks like. And Bosch are saying that the new Mercedes S-Class is the game changer in the car industry for technology. And this is what we as Berlon and the Autoglass are preparing ourselves for the future. So when we talk about vehicle automation, the Society of Automotive Engineers use this chart to define levels of automation. Zero automation, as the bare minimum, could be lane departure warning. Now, it's worth mentioning that since 2009, companies like Volvo have had driver assistance systems in their cars. Then we move to level one, some driver assistance systems. So, for example, automatic cruise control. Level two, partial automation. This could be the Ford Focus, fully automatic parking. And then we have level three. So it does have the use of autopilot. So this could be Tesla, for example, or the Audi A8. And then we move to level four, level five, high or full automation. What we start to see in the markets now is that there's a slowdown on the push for level four or level five automation because this is really sophisticated. So what the vehicle manufacturers are doing now is they're focusing on level two and level three, which is around comfort and safety. And you can see here the original drive for full automation is going to slow down. And even companies like Uber are offering to offload their self-driving car division. And Mercedes, as we saw in the Mercedes S-Class, they're no longer interested in the race to autonomous driving. They're going to focus more on profitability, driver safety, and driver convenience. But what we do know and what we see in Europe is ADAS penetration will continue to grow. And the most important parts, most important systems will be collision avoidance, lane departure warning, and traffic sign recognition. Now, when you put more ADAS systems in cars, this requires more sensors and more cameras. And this visual here shows you a 360 view. So currently at the moment, most of the cameras are put behind the front windscreen, unless things like parking assistant cameras. But for the car to have a full 360 view, it will have to have sensors and cameras positioned all the way around the vehicle. Now that presents us with a challenge. So currently, just now, we know the space that we require to recalibrate a forward-facing camera. But we're already making plans and provisions to understand what our branches of the future will need to look like to recalibrate 360 view vehicles. But the most important change that we're all going to see in Europe are the changes that the EU Commission are going to make. And the EU Commission have introduced legislation that mandates ADAS features. It ensures new vehicle type approval from 2022, and all new vehicles in 2024 will fit as standard collision avoidance, emergency lane keep assist, and driver monitoring. Therefore, all of these new vehicles must have a camera fitted, which will require a recalibration after an event. Now, what the vehicle manufacturers state as an event, as Jarek mentioned, It's not only glass replacement. This could be tire change. This could be work performed on a chassis or work performed after an accident. So it's worth noting that if these vehicles have these cameras, you have to factor in these recalibration charges. And here you see the EU Commission, it's a drill down of what they're basing their recommendations on. And you can see where they mention systems. This is all linked to accident events. So, for example, pedestrians, cyclists, reverse detection. But they're even adding in things like alcohol interlock installation. So the EU are really making recommendations to have an impact on the reduction of accidents by focusing what type of accidents and what type of equipment can reduce these accidents. And of course, we know about Euro NCAP, and Euro NCAP are following suit to give the cars the 5-star NCAP rating. Now, the Euro NCAP are gaining their reward system on what type of technology the vehicle has. So, as we mentioned in 2024, it will be mandatory for all cars to have some type of ADAS system. But Euro NCAP will push for further levels of safety implemented into the cars. Automatic emergency steering, heads-up display, junction crossing, pedestrian and cyclist prevention. So this is the real push that's coming from Europe, Euro NCAP, the vehicle manufacturers that sell cars, and this is all aimed at reducing accidents. Now, the negative effect that that has on insurance companies and leasing companies and the consumer at the moment is that this equipment and these sensors are costly to recalibrate and costly to replace. But it's not only the EU that are driving for safer cars. The United Nations are now following suit here. And the United Nations are now written a new regulation on the SAC level 3 automation, where the driver can hand over the driving task to the car, but the driver must be ready to regain control. So this is not fully autonomous driving. We expect the final approval 2021. Road traffic law reviews in Japan and Germany mid-2021. And then the OEMs potentially introduce ALKS, automatic lane keeping system, complying with local regulation. And we fully expect other countries to follow, because this is a definite system that reduces accidents. But where we have automation, there are some safety features that are facing scrutiny. So, for example, we see that Nissan Rogue is under investigation for automatically braking for no apparent reason. And then in the US, AAA finds that pedestrian detection systems are completely ineffective at night. And I'll just now play a video, video 2 of a Tesla in the US. Now, what you see here is the car following the Tesla in front. The Tesla is on autopilot, but the Tesla does not recognize some roadworks ahead. Hence causing the Tesla to crash. Now, this is technology that's new, it's being developed, and there are as many good videos on YouTube or on social media where Teslas have been prevented from crashing. But because this is new technology, it's in the spotlight, and this is why it's so important. I can't emphasize enough that if your customers have vehicles who have this camera technology in them, it's so important that these ADAS systems are recalibrated by competent providers. So as we see more ADAS, for us, this means more front cameras. And we see today, as Berlon, it's a small share of our standard replacements. But we know very, very quickly that this number is going to increase massively. And this is why we need to prepare for what's coming in the future. This is the front camera penetration rates currently. So we spoke about the future. But actually, now you can see that many countries have a 30% camera penetration rate within their car park. So you see people like Belgium, Australia, and the UK have a really, really high penetration on cameras. Now, this can depend on the make and the models of the cars in the market, but also the age of the car park. This is a really powerful information for, in particular, underwriters or people who work with leasing contract agreements to understand that your total car park and what percentage of that car park will require that additional recalibration on top of the glass replacement. Now, this was a presentation we gave in the Netherlands 2 months ago. And the guys in the Netherlands really wanted to understand the impact on their book of camera penetration. So here you see on the left is the total car sales with front camera, and you can see 2024 when the EU directive comes in, all new cars will have ADAS systems. And then on the chart on the right, you see how that impacts the total car park in the Netherlands. So this is cars that have ADAS systems that will have cameras, which of course will require recalibration. Now, if you take that particular insurer in the Netherlands, which is Unigarant and ANWB, then this insurance company quickly realized, because of the age of their portfolio business, that by 2026, 49% of their portfolio may require a camera recalibration. Now, there's positive and negative to this. Positive to this is if these cars have these safety systems, then the expectation will be that these cars will have less accidents. But from a cost point of view, 49% of their vehicles who require a windscreen recalibration, windscreen will require a recalibration. So you have to factor this into your portfolio of business. As we see more SE Level 2 and ADAS, we'll see more advanced camera technology. So we'll see trifocal cameras, which will take into account cyclists, pedestrians, and traffic signals. We see infrared cameras at night. And then we also start to see more 4D cameras. Now, these cameras will be able to predict what the pedestrian will be doing. Are they going to move across the junction? Are they walking away from the junction? It will be able to factor in cyclists, people running, children, And all this technology will be available very, very soon. But again, the most important part is if these cars have this technology, then it will be the potential for more complex camera recalibration. So going back to the comment I made about the 360 view of the car and the space required to do these recalibrations. So what I'd like to do now is just talk you through two videos. Now, being Belron, we have a research and development team, and we test everything that we do. We test our glass, we test our training, our tools, and our standards. And as we started to see more and more ADAS systems, we started to hear from our insurance partners, our leasing companies, and the dealers saying that camera recalibration was not required. So what we wanted to do was test exactly uh, what it means if we recalibrate a car wrong, or if we don't recalibrate the car that requires a recalibration after a windscreen replacement. So if you can play video 3. So this was a car recalibrated correctly. And then what we did, same car, but we purposely poorly recalibrated this car. So we recalibrated this car 1 degree off. And you can see the safety system failed. And that just shows you the importance of what Yarek mentioned when he made reference to the sniper. That if we get these camera recalibrations wrong and not as per the OEM instructions, then these ADAS systems are ineffective because the camera is looking in the wrong place. So what's the impact in your business? All your VGRR providers, vehicle glass repair replacement, must be able to identify, conduct, and record recalibrations. We did a market study in Germany, and what alarmed us was the group who advised the customer that they did not require recalibration on their vehicles were actually the main dealers. There was a certain level of knowledge between the vehicle glass repair and replacement companies. By far, the main dealers gave the customers the wrong advice. And that's because in many of these main dealers, there's a misunderstanding between a recalibration and resetting fault codes. A recalibration is not clearing fault codes on cars. It's a process and a procedure set by the vehicle manufacturer. It's important that the vehicle glass repair and replacement companies are able to identify upfront the need for the recalibration so as we can notify the customer that the job may take that little bit longer or we may require that vehicle in the branch. We have to understand the trigger points of the recalibration. We have to identify the camera and the dummy. Now, that's a very important point. Many of the vehicle manufacturers, such as Skoda, Audi, Volkswagen, may have a windscreen equipped for an ADAS camera, but the ADAS camera may not be present. Now, that does identify another risk because there is certainly a risk of fraud there, where a leasing company and an insurance company could be charged for a recalibration that was not required. So as Autoglass, our final check on a vehicle to see if that vehicle requires a recalibration is a visual. But the most important part is to understand the OEM stipulations when it comes to camera recalibration. We need to focus on recalibration, capability, and quality. So to perform recalibrations on these, we have to have immaculate glass quality. We have to have the right tool, the right equipment, and the skills and the technical training to perform these recalibrations. But also, importantly, you need the experience and expertise to make sure that if we come across a problem with one of these vehicles, then we can quickly resolve that issue. But the most important part for you as leasing companies and insurance companies is for your providers to record accurate certification of the recalibration. This will mitigate you from any future liability risk. And as I mentioned, with the risk of the dummy cameras and the fraud, and you need to ask for transparent invoicing. You should never accept that just a calibration has been performed. You need proof of that recalibration. Now, all of the recalibration tools that we use are linked to the particular engine number of the vehicle. So anyone who performs a recalibration will be able to provide you with this documentation. So how are Autoglass Poland prepared? We have a seamless product identification system. It's integrated into our global technical master database. And our global master database is linked to the official OEM instructions. We only use OE equivalent or OE glass or glass from accredited OE manufacturers. The tools we use are accredited Helle Goodman, Bosch, Aztec, and as with in the Netherlands, we're able to deliver between 95 and 97% recalibrations on the vehicles. And the shortfall in the recalibration is mainly Tesla or new to market vehicles. We accredit our technicians to an independent standard, the Institute of the Motor Industry, and we have constant research and development and testing. And then globally, as Belron, we're able to offer Autoglass Poland access to the 3 ADAS competency centers, one in Germany, one in the UK, and one in the US. And then importantly, we have accurate recording and certification. So this goes back to providing the customer, the insurance company, the leasing company, and the driver of the car an accurate recalibration certificate. So as I mentioned, we have, as Belron, a very strong research and development focus. We work with Bristol University, for example, measuring camera angles, and we assess the likelihood of recalibration success or failure. We work with huge organizations such as the Transport Research Laboratory, TRC, and Observer to fully understand the difference between a good and a successful recalibration. And we also are very mindful of is a calibration able to be performed mobile? And we are very much of the opinion that this is not possible. A recalibration may be performed mobile in a controlled environment, such as a workshop, but certainly at street level, we would not recommend any recalibrations are performed. But the big news, and this is a really important message, is as Belron, on the 12th of November last year, we completed our 1 millionth recalibration. And officially, we are the biggest recalibration company in the world. So this just means that the team in Autoglass Poland has this huge experience behind them. If they come across any problems, any process procedures, any new cars to market, then we have the benefit of contacting anyone within any of our 40 countries to seek advice or guidance on recalibration of new vehicles. Just to give you an idea of how far this number has grown, in 2017, Belron, globally, we did roughly 108,000 recalibrations. And then in November 2020, that figure was 1 million. To give you an understanding of the Polish market currently, in 2019, Poland completed 3,500 recalibrations. In 2020, that figure was nearly 6,000. So that just goes to show you how fast these camera recalibrations are entering these markets. So when I give these presentations, we're always asked about Tesla. So Tesla is the leading technology, the self-driving car, and obviously these cars have cameras. Tesla is one of the only vehicle manufacturers that currently we can't deliver a recalibration solution. And that's not because of us in Belron or Autoglass Poland. That's because we have difficulties gaining access to the Tesla vehicle. But what we have been doing is working very, very closely with Tesla in Norway to develop a recalibration solution. And I'm pleased to say that solution is almost complete. It's been tested. We know what equipment is required. And where we are now with Tesla is we're just in discussion around licenses. But just to give you an idea, and this is a taste of the future, but it's also a warning for the future. You can see here, for us to gain access to the Tesla software to recalibrate the car, Tesla look for a license of $4,700 US. Now, this is quite a common theme that we are starting to see with vehicle manufacturers, that they're now starting to charge their non-dealer companies, or the aftermarket as we call it, for access to their vehicle to perform recalibrations or any work on the computers on the vehicles. That's just a nice to know, but we are just about to develop a solution to enable us to recalibrate Teslas. So I think it's worth covering off 4 myths. Now, these are 4 myths that I hear not only in Poland, but I hear in all the markets that I go across the world. And it's a common theme that we hear all the time. As camera penetration starts to enter into these markets, these are the kind of my top 4 topics that come up. So myth number 1, recalibrating an ADAS camera deletes any fault codes that the car currently had. So this could be related to engine management systems, braking systems, all the fault codes that appear in the normal service of the vehicle. We run a global scan before we commence any recalibration work on a vehicle. And the reason we do that is to show a customer the pre-scan. So we show the customer how many fault codes are on the car before we start. We perform the recalibration as per OE instructions, and we will only remove fault codes that are related to the camera that we want to work on. But we will inform that customer before we start the car, there is a fault code showing on this camera, so that we do not have any liability placed with us after performing the recalibration. And what we also do is we run a post scan and we show the customer that the codes that were on the car before we started the recalibration are still on the car after the recalibration. Myth number 2. Now, this is one that comes up all the time. My car does not require a recalibration, my dealer said. So I gave you the German example where in the market study, the dealers were by far the worst for giving the wrong advice on recalibration. And I think the reason they give the wrong advice on recalibration is they don't understand it. They don't perform the amount of recalibrations that we perform as Autoglass or as Belron. I just need to make it very, very clear that we only follow the OE manufacturer's guidelines on recalibration. This is an example of the OE manufacturer, BMW 640 X-Drive, which has a CAFAS camera. And you can see here it clearly states that you perform the calibration using the diagnosis system. Now, what it also says in this work instruction is you have to tell the customer that some of the assistance systems are temporarily unavailable after the vehicle pickup. And that's because the car requires you to drive the car for these systems to make the changes in the recalibration. But what we do as Belron and what we do as Autoglass Poland is we will make sure we drive the car for the customer. So we will never hand the car back to these customers with these systems inoperable. Number 3, only dealers recalibrate following high OEM standards. So I do like showing these slides because this just shows you what I see in my travel across our 40 markets. So on the right, you see a Toyota dealer in Portugal using step ladders and a piece of cardboard to recalibrate the car. In the middle, you can see a Mazda dealer in Australia, where the recalibration target is on the back of a door. And then we see in the Netherlands, this is actually at the back of a Volkswagen main dealer, where the car was driven out the back of the main dealer and put on a trailer for a recalibration. What we can safely say as Belron and as Autoglass, that our recalibration standards are controlled, they're of a really high level, and they follow all the guidelines as set out by the OEM manufacturers. So that takes into account lighting, level floors, tools and training, and making sure that we only use equipment approved by Belron. And I need to really emphasize those points because it's so dangerous if we get these recalibrations wrong. And myth number 4, and this is the one that comes up all the time, recalibration can only be done if the car has a logo glass. So for example, the brand of the car has to show in the glass. Now, no surprise is that this is the pressure that comes from the dealers. They say the car has to be recalibrated by a dealer. The car has to be recalibrated only using OE glass. So again, as Belron, we conduct the testing in controlled environments using reputable test companies, and we can categorically say, comparing OE glass versus OE equivalent glass for the emergency brake assist function, there was no statistical difference between the recalibrations done with the OE glass and the OE equivalent glass. Now, if you just recall that as Belron globally, we serve over 18 million customers a year, and we deliver over 1 million recalibrations. Our Polish business have delivered just below 6,000 recalibrations in 2020, and we know more than anyone around quality glass, high standards of training, technical ability, and tooling and equipment to be able to perform these recalibrations on these vehicles as per OE instructions. I want to spend just a few minutes on this slide, and this slide is just about the landscape. So what's happening and the impact of vehicle encryption. Now, I deliberately didn't cover vehicle encryption as a section in this, but it's something all you guys need to be aware of. So I touched on that vehicle manufacturers are finding ways of making it more difficult for the aftermarket to make the connections to the cars to recalibrate the cameras. So currently, just now in our Polish business, we use 3 tools. We have the Hella Goodman tool, we have the Bosch tool, and for that 2% of vehicles, so these are new vehicles to the market, so say 1 to 4 months old entered into the market, we have another device which is called an Aztec tool. Now, the Aztec tool has the connectivity to the vehicle manufacturers, and Aztec get the release of the software the same time as the OEM dealers. So we use this Aztec tool to take up this 2% where we're not able to recalibrate a car. And as I mentioned before, our recalibration coverage sits anywhere between 96 and 97%, excluding Tesla. But what we are starting to see is pressure coming from the vehicle manufacturers. So they're slowing down their times that they release the software to the market. There's the implementation of secure gateways to the cars. There's the implementation of seed and key. And there's the implementation of diagnostics over internet protocol. So these are all things that are coming that make it more difficult for the likes of ourselves to plug in a device and just recalibrate a camera. So we're very aware of this. We know these things are happening. And the good example was the Alfa Romeo and Fiat implemented a secure gateway where we couldn't gain access to the car unless we paid a subscription to gain access to the OEM server. Now, obviously, there's a charge involved in that as well, but we were able to find solutions to enable us to complete the recalibrations on the cars. But the good news is you have a company the size of Berlon who are pushing back. So we're pushing back on these pressures that are coming from the OEM by increasing our tool coverage. So I mentioned Aztec, I mentioned Bosch, Hella Goodman. We're investing in additional tools, but we also have a team lobbying in Europe as the voice of the aftermarket to make sure that whatever the changes that OEM manufacturers make, we continue to get access to these vehicles, to these work instructions, to make sure that the aftermarket has a level playing field. But the important one is we continue with our research and development, and we identify new solutions to deal with these challenges that are coming from the OE manufacturers. So this is an area that we're constantly in technically, to make sure we can deliver the solutions for your customers. We have our research and development team. We have our team in Europe who continue to lobby to gain access. But if we don't push that pressure back on the OEM manufacturers, what you will see is the OEM manufacturers will continue to implement these registration fees for us to gain access to the cars. They'll request us to buy tokens to get daily, weekly, monthly access to the OEM servers. But if we continue to push back and come up with these solutions and make sure that we're positioned in Europe to make sure this playing field remains level, then we can protect our leasing partners and our insurance companies from these rising costs, and we will hopefully be able to bring down the costs of the recalibrations. So from my side, as I mentioned earlier, Joanna and Jarek spoke about the future, but actually we're already dealing with this future technology. What we do know in the future, and very, very quickly, 2024, there's going to be new EU directives on camera recalibration that will force us as Autograph to invest in tooling, invest in equipment to make sure that when you send us a car for a glass replacement, we can deliver the end-to-end solution for you. Thank you, Joanna.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Eddie. That was very interesting. And I think that we normal drivers really don't realize that our cars are right now are equipped with the systems, safety systems based on cameras. It is in normal cars. It is not just the premium cars. It is normal cars that we're buying right now, and we don't have this knowledge of recalibration, and that frightens me really.
Yeah, one of the things that causes us a challenge sometimes when we ask a customer, do they have an ADAS system in the car, when we're trying to identify a product or the process that we put the customer in, the customer just doesn't know. But the best way we explain it to a customer is, if your car goes over the white line on the road, does your steering wheel shake? And the most common answer that we get back is, yes, it does, but I switch that off because it annoys me.
Okay, but that frightens me more really, and what frightens me exactly the most right now in this thing is that the dealers don't have this knowledge. The dealers and the services, they don't have this knowledge. How can we change this?
Yeah, this is just around educating the market, and doing these seminars and these presentations to let everyone know that what's coming, and it helps the insurance companies and the underwriters and the leasing companies understand that if they are insuring or leasing a particular type of vehicle, that this vehicle will have this equipment. And I think in the past, we see in the large cities, so for example, in Warsaw, the main dealers in the large cities tend to be more equipped to deal with these recalibrations than the smaller dealers in the rural areas. And I'll give you a real live example of that. So when ADAS recalibration first came in the UK, we had examples of dealers in Edinburgh, say, for example, who send cars to Milton Keynes, which is 500 miles away, to have a recalibration done because they simply didn't have the equipment. And there's this concept around a recalibration, or are they clearing fault codes on cars? And they're a very, very different topic. Clearing fault codes is not a recalibration on a vehicle. And as Jarek said, it's about lining the camera up to make sure the camera is looking in the right location.
Yeah, the problem is that this is our safety and this is our life that is in the game. So this should be right now one of the most important things to do, to educate really, and to learn people how important this thing is. So thank you very much for educating us. Thanks a lot, Eddie.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to us, really. So have a good time, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Enjoy your day.
Bye. Szanowni Państwo, no ta wiedza jest rzeczywiście niezwykła i ja
Ladies and gentlemen, this kind of knowledge is amazing, and I have this feeling that our role, everyone here, when we're learning this, we need to share it, we need to propagate it, because it's about our health, about our safety, about the lives of, well, not only our lives, but the lives of other people and vehicles on the road out there. Very, very important. So definitely we will get back to this topic. This is our main topic today at the Autoglass webinar. So let's take a short break, and right after the break, we will get back into the topic of calibration.